Thank you for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. Today is the 30th of March, 2023. I'm Debbie Rubenstein, and we are today, as of today, there were an average of 58 cases reported of COVID reported in Charlotte-Mecklenburg County, which is a 20% decrease over the last 2 weeks. Both subject and interviewer are comfortable not wearing a mask. Would you like to introduce yourself, please, and tell me a little bit of what you look like?
My name is Nicole Eberhardt. I am a white female. I do wear glasses due to my vision impairment. I am wearing a dark gray polo shirt with Lion Services logo on it. My glasses is kind of a purplish color, and my hair is, I would say, dark brown at this point. And that's about it.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. So, you, as you said, you are vision impaired. So we're gonna go ahead and walk through the hand map activity, but verbally, and we'll stop to sort of pause and talk about the stories that are there. So we're gonna think a little bit for a minute about who you are and take your time. There's no rush here. If you were to pick 5 words, adjectives, nouns to describe yourself, can you choose 5? Can you choose 5 adjectives or nouns to describe yourself, to put it better? And these can be anything. These can be something about what you look like. It can be something about who you are internally. Some of our elders have put sexy. Some of our, it really is what you see yourself as.
I am a very independent person. I like to attempt to do things as independently as possible. I'm a person who loves challenges. I don't like being stagnant, so anytime a new challenge comes to me, I get really excited. I am very determined. I am a person who loves to be inspirational and tries to encourage others. I am a person who is I'm a very spiritual, oriented person. So I don't believe that a lot of things that come my way are of my own doing completely. And last but not least, I'm very family oriented. Those are my biggest fans, and those are the people who I try to surround myself with the most.
That's great. Are you from around here to begin initially?
My hometown is Gastonia, so I am from kind of the metro area, it's considered. I have lived in Charlotte since I was about 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
And you still have family in Gastonia?
Yes.
So the next thing we would do would be to draw the lines on your palms usually. And then on those lines, we would ask you to describe or write down 2 or 3 journeys you've been on. And these can be physical journeys. These can be, I traveled from, for me, for example, I was born in New Orleans. I moved to North Carolina, then to New York, and then back to North Carolina. So that would be a journey that I've gone on that was meaningful to me. but it can also be something that is not as literal. Something like, I went from childhood to adulthood, or dependence to independence, whatever you see as your journeys.
One of my biggest, and I feel is one of the most meaningful, because of some of my childhood, and some of the ways I was raised. As a child and a teenager, I really didn't have the confidence that I have now as an adult. And because my mother did not help advocate for me and get me the accommodations and make sure that I had the tutoring and things of that nature in school, especially high school, when they told me I was going to have to retake yet another grade in high school, I decided just to drop out. Mm. And then as I got to be an adult, I got involved with, I have 2 children, so I got involved with my son's father, and he yet again was doing the same type of things my mother was doing. My mother and father was separated, so I didn't have my father in my life. But I'll get to that in a second. And so he kind of did the same things mentally to me. And I continued to not have that confidence that I could finish school. I could get that piece of paper in my hand, and I was smart enough and I was intelligent enough to make those strides. Then my father entered into my life when not long after I had my daughter. My son and daughter have different fathers, but my father came back into my life when my daughter was about a year old. And when he found out that I had dropped out and I hadn't went back, which was kind of the same path he followed, and at the time he was attempting to get his GED, he started pushing me, telling me, you can do it. You need to. It's very important for you to have, that piece of paper in life, especially if you want to grow and accomplish things and have dreams. And for a long time, and that was when I was about 26 years old, for a long time, I didn't feel it was very important. 2019 comes and I get tired of my father bugging me about it. And he's already got his GED. He got his in 2015. And I was there to see him walk across the stage and the whole 9 yards. And so in 2019, I was like, you know what? It's my time. And so I did start going to Central Piedmont Community College. And I was only 5 credits shy of getting my actual high school diploma, not just a GED. And my advisor said, it would be more who of you to go for your diploma instead of the GED, seeing that you were only 5 credits shy. So I said, okay. So in 2019, October 2019, I started taking evening classes. And my father was there the entire time. He, because I am visually impaired, that would mean that I would be riding a city bus at night to get home, or struggling with special transportation services. So my father said, no, I'll pick you up and I'll take you home. Every night he did that. He would pick my daughter up from school, and then he would head to pick me up from my night classes. 2020 hit, and everything just kind of started shutting down. Everything went virtual, so I started struggling. I'm not good at math, so that's where I started struggling. And then in 2022, I had two deaths in the family. 2020, I had my grandmother passed away from dementia and Alzheimer's. And I wasn't able to do a proper goodbye because she was in a nursing home. So my father passed away in April of 2021. So you would imagine I really wasn't focused on finishing, those classes and graduating and things like that, because I was the only child. So I had to take on the burden of making the final arrangements and all those things. Luckily,
That must have been extremely challenging.
it really was. It was hard to get back into the emotions of getting back to going to classes and things. But I did have I thought, I didn't complete it. And so I thought I'd have to go through the process all over again. Doing the initial test that they do, the assessment and all that. I thought I would have to go all through that all over again. But no, as I said, the first prompt, I'm a very spiritual person. And so February of 2022, one of my instructors reached out to me and said, if you want to register for the spring semester so you can graduate in May, click the link. I'm like, wait, what? So, and it was for the last class that I needed to obtain my high school diploma. And so I went ahead and I was like, you know what, I'm ready to do this. Even though my father's not here to see me walk across the stage like I was with him, I'm ready to do this. So I registered for the very last class. I did it virtually. And I passed that last class with an 86.
Wow, that's amazing. What was it, a math class?
Yes,
Oh.
It was a math class. But I passed it with an 86. I did it virtually. I graduated May 12th, 2022.
Congratulations. No, that is quite a journey. That's an incredible journey. Was your daughter were kids able to watch you?
My daughter was there, yes, and I had a few friends of mine that was there, and my daughter's dad and my now husband, they were all there.
Oh, that's nice. That's really wonderful. Has your daughter ever talked about the impact on her of seeing you study and work towards your GED? Excuse me.
No,
Doesn't mean she doesn't have impact. She just may not have talked about it
yeah, I think at this point, her being 14, she's not so concerned about, those kind of things. Even though I tried to, and my father, when my father was alive, tried to instill in her how important it is. And I'm going to have to work harder now that she is a mom herself, to know that, yeah, it's just a piece of paper, but it's going to be very crucial for you to have that if you want to make a good life for you and your kids.
Have
down
you
the
seen
road.
a difference for you?
Huge. Here at Land Services, I started here in March of 2005. So I've been here a very long time. And up until August of 2022, I was on the production floor running a sewing machine or doing assembly. And, you know, in the back of my mind, I knew that part of the reason was because I didn't have any, I didn't finish high school. You know, I didn't have anything to show that I was capable of more. I dropped out, but it didn't help matters of the CEO that was here at the time either. He wasn't too kind looking on letting the visually impaired that work here to have higher opportunities outside of being on a sewing machine or assembly work. But once our new CEO took over, you know, he, especially when I was communicating that I was going to be graduating, he started talking to me about an opportunity that was coming open. And it was going to be on staff. And once that started happening, right after when I was telling them that, you know, I'm so close to graduating, I'm about to take my final exam, I know I'm going to pass it, it started hitting me just how important it is to get your education.
That's really interesting, because this is not a position that would have been available to you without your GED.
Right.
That's really interesting.
So another journey for me, I would have to say, would be the very first cruise I went on. I love to travel. When my mother and my stepfather got married, we traveled a lot. It was mainly either on Amtrak or we flew to different places. My stepfather was big in advocacy for blind and visually impaired, and he also had a guide dog.
He was himself visually impaired?
Yes. He received his guide dog from Southeastern Guide Dogs in Bradenton, Florida. Well, actually, the campus is in Palmetto. But he was a part of the graduate council for that guide dog school. So we made trips there a good bit. We made trips to American Council for the Blind conferences every year. So we were traveling a lot. He was also part of the Randolph Shepherd vendor program through the Governor Moorhead School rehabilitation program. So he was considered self-employed by the state of North Carolina through that program. And so they also had conferences and things that he would go to as well. And so that's where my love of travel really sparked. And so when I got married, I knew that I wanted an extravagant honeymoon. So here I am planning my first cruise. because I'm like, okay, I've done planes, I've done trains, I've done automobiles, so let's try a cruise ship.
Let's try a boat.
Yeah, so we did a 4-day cruise to the Bahamas.
Oh,
So it was, we did Carnival Cruise Line. We left from Charleston, South Carolina, and had a sea day. Spent a day in Nassau, Bahamas,
uh-huh.
had a sea day coming back, and then ended back up in Charleston. So
When
that
was this? Year was?
it was in 2016.
2016.
It was Labor Day 2016. And so that was the first time I was out of the country.
Yeah.
So that was very fun.
Yeah. What did you notice on the cruise? Tell me about the experience of being on a cruise where you're at sea all day, but you're also in a very large, very new space with a lot of people. What are some of the things you noticed? Enjoyed and didn't enjoy?
One of the biggest things that I enjoyed, I felt like I was being pampered. Because they had turn down service. So your room steward would come and turn down your bed for the night. Every day they made up your bed, and it's so cool. They put a towel animal on your bed.
Oh, wow.
So it's so cool. So one day you leave and you come back and you can end up with a frog on your bed. Some people have had monkeys hanging from the ceiling. That's a towel animal. So I really like how I felt pampered. I loved the entertainment. There's so much entertainment on a cruise ship. You're never bored. I got to do something that I used to love to do with my grandma. My grandmother was big on going to bingo on Saturday nights. And when she was in really good health. And so on a cruise ship, you can actually play bingo. So, and I won I mean, I didn't win huge, but I did win some money. Let's just put it that way.
Have to keep it fun.
Yeah. I've been on 2 other cruises since then, and I like how that you can go to different places. No, you don't necessarily have a lot of time in each place, but I like the idea of getting on a cruise ship and you might have a sea day, and after that sea day you go to sleep and you wake up in a new place. And I've always liked that idea that it's not a lot to get from, say, Cozumel, Mexico to, Key West, Florida, or vice versa. And so I really like that concept for me. My next one, I would love to do Hawaii, and you get to see 5 of the different islands on one cruise.
Wow.
I mean, that's just, it blows my mind. So, and I like that most of the dining is included, and you have so many options. You're not limited to food wise. You're not limited too much.
What do you most enjoy about going to a new place? Are you a person who's looking for restaurants, or a person who wants to hear other languages? What do you look forward to when going to a new place?
Well, one, I am a huge Hard Rock Cafe fan. So if it's a place that has a Hard Rock Cafe, you're going to find me going to it.
What do you love about Hard Rock Cafe?
I love the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
I love the atmosphere. I do love their food, but mainly I love the atmosphere. Yes, I love contemporary Christian music, but I'm also a huge like 80s rock fan.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the vibe that you get when you go into a Hard Rock Cafe. And so I really love the atmosphere about it. Another thing that I love is I love seeing different cultures. I went to Cozumel, Mexico, and, I got to see some of the culture in Mexico, and the Bahamas, I got to visit Freeport not long after Hurricane Matthew had came through and just plummeted a lot of stuff. And when you see these different places and how much harder it is for them to recover from something like that, because their resources are limited. From where here in the United States, a hurricane come through, and I mean we've got everything cleaned up and restored most everything within 2-3 months because we have the resources. And it's just interesting to see how different cultures live their day-to-day lives, and everything. Food is another thing too. I look for the best food because when I'm traveling, especially something like Bahamas or Mexico, I'm looking for that authentic food. Another trip that I do want to do at some point is Greece. And that is going to be one thing that I do. I want to find a place that serves really good, authentic Greek food because I love Greek food. But I've noticed that, in Mexico, their food tastes way completely different from, say, a Mexican restaurant here in the United States. And so I like to see how different the food tastes from what I'm used to here in the United States.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also love that when I'm traveling. I understand that. Thinking about the pandemic for a moment, the last 3 years, what are 2 or 3 feelings that come to mind? If you cast your mind back to the beginning of the pandemic, all the way through to sort of when the vaccine came out to now, what are some feelings that you remember, especially at the beginning?
Anger. A lot of that stemmed from a lot of the unknowns and how scared they were making everyone, and the panic and chaos that was beginning to happen. It really upset me. Regret. The regret, I would say, stemmed from, it did help me realize just how short life can be. Because as I stated earlier, my grandmother passed away right in the in the heart of the pandemic in August of 2020, and my husband lost his grandmother in April, May of 2020, and my husband is from New Jersey, so you can just imagine what his family was going through. His grandmother too had Alzheimer's, and she was actually bedridden in the nursing home, and his mother couldn't, with the restrictions, they were so much more strict in New York and New Jersey than it was here, that his mother had no choice but to have his grandmother cremated, because they weren't even allowing any kind of funerals. It didn't matter whether it was outside, inside, it didn't matter. You couldn't have a funeral for a loved one that passed away during that time. But because, of how the restrictions were, and not being able to visit my grandmother when she was in the nursing home before she passed away, it did make me realize how I needed to be more attentive and appreciative and spend more time with the people that I truly love, because life is short.
So what did that mean for your daily life? Did it change your choices?
Yes, I really started trying to spend more time with my family, and even more so, even now that a lot of, the restrictions are lifting and things like that, I am trying to be more present with my family, especially the ones that I know have always had my back, and those who really encourage me and bring me positivity. I really want to spend the most time I can with them.
Now, you had a young child at home, a 10-year-old at the time. What do you remember about conversations with her and how you managed what she was experiencing?
It was difficult for her, being so young. She really didn't understand a lot of the things. And at the time, my father was diagnosed with COPD, and that's what he died from. And, trying to explain to her, he's immune compromised, and we have to be careful around him. And, her not being able to be around friends at school in a normal light, and then going to remote. I mean, seeing her struggle, going remote, missing her friends. She, because of that period of time, I've noticed that she's become even more of a loner than she was before all of this. And because she had to learn how to cope and be by herself, because she couldn't spend time with her friends. She wasn't going and seeing her friends and laughing and carrying on. And I feel like it did mess with her mind a little. I think it did a lot of kids.
Was she online a lot? I mean, for school, but outside of school, was she also online?
Sadly, she become a part of social media. and it wasn't really what I wanted. I didn't permit it, but kids are kids, and they'll find a way.
Yes. That's the truth.
And I noticed that she became way more superficial about how she looked.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's a little extreme with it now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because there's so much comparison going on. I know even for me, as we were going to church online during that time, even my pastor was trying to send home a lot during the pandemic. It's like, don't let yourself fall into the comparison cycle,
Right.
In social media. And I think a lot of, preteens and teens got caught up in that during the pandemic. It's like now they're starting to compare themselves to this girl and that girl, or this boy and that boy, and oh, they have this and I don't have this, or that girl looks way prettier than me. What can I do to look like her? And all this.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
It's tough. Now, were you coming in here to Lions while she was home at virtual school?
Luckily, she did start staying with my father during the height of the pandemic, just because I wanted to ensure that someone was there with her when she was going to school. I wanted to make sure that she was actually getting up and doing it.
Right, because you were here, so you couldn't, right?
Yes, me and my husband both. I consider us frontline workers because he works grocery retail and then I work in here. So we were both considered essential workers during the whole thing.
You said he works grocery retail. Were you concerned about him coming home with the virus because he was in public so much? My brother was a bus driver, and so I know that was a concern.
In the beginning, yes.
Mm-hmm.
As more things started to unfold and come out, I got less concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes into kind of my third third word,
Sure.
which is disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Disappointment mainly in our government and how they handled the response, how a lot of the news media handled their response to COVID-19 with a lot of misinformation. I feel that a lot of the time it was a lot of fear-mongering going on, and I felt really disappointed about that. I felt disappointed in our top leaders in the White House, and the people that we rely on to get our news and weather every day. It just really disappointed me that they were out here putting so much fear in people. I'm not saying that it wasn't a bad virus, but for me, I feel like a lot of the people that got sick or had the worst version of it and possibly died or have long-lasting effects from it, I feel like a lot of those people were not given information to help keep themselves healthy. I myself, in the 3 years, I haven't caught it. And I took my mask off as soon as we were able to here in Mecklenburg County. I only put on a mask when I absolutely have to. As you know, here in Mecklenburg County, as of Tuesday, in hospitals, you no longer have to wear a mask. It's optional. But as soon as that restriction lifted, I took my mask off because what I've done the entire 3 years, and I'm not saying this is foolproof, but I know that I've taken really good care of myself, not just by washing my hands and making sure when I cough or sneeze, I do it in the bend of my arm and all these things. But I also made sure that I was keeping my gut health in check. And that's the sad part about it. And the biggest disappointment is our healthcare professionals. They wanted to push the vaccine. They didn't want to add in, well, you know, they were pushing the vaccine, but the vaccine, they didn't even have all the research done to see how effective it is and how long that effectiveness would be. And so you're asking people to stick themselves with this vaccine that we know nothing about. You haven't even done thorough research on it like you have, say, the flu shot or the pneumonia shot or any other vaccines that are out there, say the hepatitis V vaccine. And I made sure that my gut health stayed on high. With vitamins and minerals, I made sure that I took a high quality pre and probiotic to keep, my gut balanced. And honestly, I feel like that has a lot to do with why I did not contract it in 3 years. We even had a good many cases in here, and I never contracted COVID.
Where did you feel like there was a place where you could get trustworthy information?
I did start following someone on YouTube. And I felt that I was getting pretty good information. I did get the first 2 vaccines because I had to due to work. And we're a government facility, so I had no choice if I wanted to keep my job. So, but after that, I didn't get any boosters because a lot of the things that I found out about the boosters, how they're even less effective than the initial 2 and things like that. I'm not going to go into any of that. I know a lot of people they trust the vaccines and I've followed some doctors and I've followed some other people that were given information, about the response and everything. And it was hard to find, trustworthy sources. It really was at the time.
Did that end up making you feel some of that anger that you talked about before?
Yes, because I felt like there was a lot of deception that happened, especially now finding out a lot of what we were told in the beginning, and then finding out, how, the, masks aren't really that effective. And, it angered me so much. You're pushing a lot of these things, and then you turn around a year and a half later, masks are irrelevant. but why are you making us continue to wear them if that's the case? And so it's just, I felt so deceived.
Mm-hmm.
I got to the point where I didn't know how much I could trust the government at that point.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to move forward a little bit. Were there any blessings or gifts or positives that you want to share that came out of your pandemic experience?
You know, some of a big part of me feels like some of what was holding me back was I was holding on to some things too tightly. Spiritually, God says you're not supposed to have a clenched fist around things. You're supposed to have an open hand. And going back to my father passing away, I felt like I was holding on to him too tightly. I was depending on him too much to get a lot of my confidence. And I guess that stemmed from, my mother never really helped boost my confidence when I was a teenager. And, he come along and he started really speaking life into me. And, when he passed away, I was holding on to that and not really letting go. And it taught me that sometimes, even though it really hurts, there's some things you have to let go in order for huge things to happen in your life. Since I moved past my grief, I'm not going to say I don't hurt still sometimes, but since I've moved past my grief and, after I graduated, as I moved forward and I stopped dwelling on certain things, I noticed that a lot of good things started happening. I got my promotion in August of last year, from the production floor to now I'm administrative assistant. I am also now the advocate for Lion Services through National Industries for the Blind. I will be starting my training in May with them.
That's exciting.
It seems like the whole thing helped me see that holding on to certain things is going to block me from pursuing the purpose that God has laid out for me. And not listening to my gut instincts on certain things, it can block those too, even though I feel like, really, is this really what you want from me? But, or, it's a fear thing, but
Grief is a real, it's a challenge. And I think learning how to accept and incorporate it in a way, that's one of the hardest challenges we have, to then move forward. You can't really, it's not like you don't still grieve the people you love, but finding a way to incorporate that grief. It sounds like that was that was a turning point for you.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I know that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that, in addition to being able to see your work opportunities, are there other spaces in your life where you think you've handled them differently because of what you've learned through that process?
Yeah. Patience.
Mm-hmm.
I was always a person that did not have patience. I was a person that I could not go with the flow of things. And it was funny because in 2021, there was a series of events that happened in the apartment that me and my husband were living in. And this was right as my daughter started living with my dad, as she was doing virtual school. I had to go to the city on my apartment complex. Said apartment complex had already been on the news several times for different reasons. And me being visually impaired, this was really the first time, I would say this is really the first time that I just did something on a whim and just said, okay, I know everything is going to work out. Everything is going to work out. It's going to be okay. And my husband's sitting here frantic. What are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? We don't have a place to stay. We're in a hotel. Da, da, da. What happened was my refrigerator was leaking Freon. And for 3 months straight, I was, y'all need to replace my refrigerator. This is a hazard. Especially for me being visually impaired. It's hard for me to see the water on the floor. I could slip, fall. Y'all would be liable for it. Also, we were having leaks in our ceiling. And they would just come and just paint over the holes. They wouldn't really fill them in or see where the issue was coming from. So mold started growing all over my apartment after I've been saying something to them for months about it. So I go to the city inspector comes out to our apartment, notates everything, serves them with the notice of non-compliance. They turn around. They don't cure the mold, but they turn around. Now what they do, and this was the straw that broke the camel's back. 5 months after I went to the city, what they had done while me and my husband were out of work, they took all of our food out of the old refrigerator, laid everything on now they didn't tell either one of us that they were going to come in. Yeah. So they put all of our food that was in our refrigerator and our freezer out on the counter, take the old refrigerator out, put the new refrigerator in, and leaves the food out on the counter. Not to mention there are some magnets on the old refrigerator that I had on there that were pretty sentimental to me. And they got ruined because the hose, they had just thrown the hose on top of the refrigerator and the Freon got all over them and they got ruined. There were church magnets that I really wanted to hold on to, had memories attached to them. I was mad. So I went to the, this is where my husband gets frantic. And my dad was there, had his trailer and pickup truck. And I I take my keys, I write a letter. I said, I am breaking my lease due to XYZ. And gave them the letter, gave them my keys. Oh, well, we didn't have to tell you we were doing that because you went to the city. Excuse me? Excuse me. No, ma'am. And so, I knew I broke our lease. We didn't have time to get a lot of our stuff out. So, we put, everything that we could pile on that trailer and in my dad's truck on there right then, because they were coming to put the master lock on there. So as soon as we closed the door, we would not have access to that apartment again. So essentially we were going to have to start over when we got a new place. Like I said, meanwhile, my husband, what are we going to do? Where are we going to live? Da, 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 da. I'm like, listen, I did what I had to do. They were putting me in danger, and they weren't wanting to fix it. And then when they fixed it, they said that
They were spiteful.
Yeah, they were spiteful about it. And the person that did the inspection told me they might get that way. They might get spiteful. So I was kind of already mentally prepared for this. It wasn't like a surprise to me. I was already prepared in my mind about it. And I was like, listen, we had a right to break our lease. I wasn't going to stay there after they had been spiteful like that. I'm sorry. I'm putting my foot down, and I'm not going to back down. I know what my rights are. I know that they were going against ADA laws by having my inhabitants be danger to me and my well-being. And they seem to not care. So why should I? And he was like, well, how are we going to, come up with, another place? And I'm like, don't worry about it. It'll work itself out. And it will be fine. Lo and behold, I started looking around with my dad, and my dad said, well, why don't you stay where I used to live when I was in an apartment? So I go talk to them, and I told them the situation. I said, I broke my lease. I'm not paying them what I owe them from breaking my lease because of, and I laid everything out. I said, you want proof that I went to the city on them? I can get it for you. They're like, no, you don't have to do that. Especially after I told them the name of the complex that we lived in. And so they were actually trying to block us from getting into that apartment. And the lady was like, don't worry about it. We're going to get you in here. They can try to block it all they want. We're going to get you in here. So going through the pandemic really got my mindset different. I can't explain it. Like, now I'm more determined, and I'm less likely to back down, especially when I know what my rights are. I used to be that timid person. More so when I was way younger, me being 38 now, but yeah, I definitely can tell my mindset has changed dramatically in the past 3 years.
Well, that's really interesting. I really appreciate you sharing that. I know exactly which apartment complex you're talking about too. Last question on the map. It's not the last thing, but I also sort of keeping an eye on the time. But I wanted to ask, when you think about the last several years, what supports did you lean on? What helped support you through those 3 years? Whether it's people or institutions like here or your church, or whether it's books or movies, or what did you find to be the most supportive to you as you wrestled with these various feelings and changes that the pandemic brought up?
I will be honest with you, my church, and I did a lot of personal development. I started reading books, a lot of them personal development. One of my favorite authors through it, Mel Robbins. She's a professional motivational speaker, and she wrote a couple of books. And the first one I read was The High Five Habit. And when I tell you that book really helped me a lot through where I knew I wanted to go and getting there through everything in the past few years, it really helped me. So yeah, self-development and my church. That's where I really turned to. And
so with your church, because of all the isolation that was a part of the pandemic, how were they able to support you? Like, what tools did they use? What did you find useful? Did people call? Did people visit? Did you call? Were you able to call people?
My church, I go to Elevation Church, and so my church did something really fun. They had, especially when everything got locked down in the beginning, there was certain people that went to people's houses and did things. And one of my volunteer friends, I volunteered on the same volunteer team as her. I remember, and it was so awesome because we didn't expect it. She actually brought us a couple of pizzas. And, at that time, it was the whole social distancing thing. So what she did was she let me know that she was coming, but it was still random. We didn't, we weren't expecting anything. But our campus pastor was like encouraging people, if you can, do something for someone within the church. And so she knocked on our door and left the pizza right there at our doorstep, and then, walked off because this whole social distancing thing. But that's one way they did it. They were doing...
Who doesn't want a surprise pizza?
Especially a 10 or 11-year-old. But they also did, they were on Facebook, doing Facebook Lives a lot. On top of they made sure that they did live recordings on Sundays for people, since we couldn't go in person at all. And so it was really nice to know that they were trying to continue to be engaged with us through the whole thing.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that. That was great. Like I said, I'm trying to be aware of your time. So we've been talking an hour, which is amazing. And I want to just invite you, before we finish, is there anything that I haven't asked about, or anything you want to be sure and share about your experiences?
The main thing that I want to share is, as a person who is legally blind and has been since birth, I know how hard it is to be a part of normal society and how we are looked down upon and the stigma that is placed on us. And I am beginning to work on trying to fix those things. I recently took the position of president of the North Carolina Council for the Blind Charlotte chapter, which is actually part of American Council of the Blind. So I am the Charlotte area president. And we do advocacy work for issues that blind and visually impaired encounter on a daily basis within, North Carolina, and in particular the Charlotte metro area. And then I'm going to start doing the advocacy work for National Industries for the Blind, which that advocacy work is to ensure that the Ability One employment program stays alive for us, because their purpose is to ensure equal employment opportunities for anyone who has a vision impairment, even out in the regular workforce, not just in a facility for the blind like Lion Services.
What kinds of things would you like to see more corporations and businesses implement to make opportunity more available for people with vision, with visual disabilities?
I would like them to be more open-minded to allowing us to be an essential part of their company. Just because we have a vision limitation does not mean that we aren't capable of doing a specific job. We may need certain accommodations to accomplish said job outside of like a normal sighted person, but with those accommodations, we can do just as much as a person with full vision.
Well said. Have you found, it sounds like this is a new position, which is really exciting, but have you found instruction or comradeship or support with organizations or people who are battling other differences and other disabilities or other inequities?
I have seen a lot of it, and I can't, because I don't know the specifics for different disabilities, which I probably will be learning more about, seeing that my granddaughter is going to be suffering from certain physical limitations. She will most likely have some sort of cerebral palsy. So other disabilities I know I will be beginning to learn about. But I do know that I've seen it all over the board. But my strongest thing is, and the reason why I want to be the advocate for National Industries for the Blind. Yes, with that being said, the inequities for blind and visually impaired are not and will not be equal to or the same to other disabilities. And I feel very strongly that we should not be lumped with other disabilities because our limitations are very different from someone in a wheelchair, from someone with some sort of mental disability. And so while I do support advocacy for those disabilities, I feel that we should not be lumped into one huge category.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like it's fair to them or us.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was absolutely wonderful. I really appreciate your time, your willingness to share so openly. I just want to make sure do you feel like there's anything you've left out?
Just if you are blind or visually impaired, don't give up. Don't give up on your dreams. Keep dreaming, keep striving.
I love it. Thank you so, so much.